All right, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those who don't know, we're all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. I'm going to dive right into our hangout. We are joined live at the Lucky Peak Research Station, part of the Intermountain Bird Observatory at Boise State University with Heidi Carlisle, and they are catching raptors. So I'm going to turn it over to her to blow our minds. And thanks so much for joining us today, Heidi.
Hey guys, so it sounds like I don't have my video right now, but I'll give you a quick intro. So, like you said, so my name's Heidi. I'm the education director for the Bird Observatory, and I'm here with a couple of our other scientists. And once the video gets going again and it connects, I'll show you guys. We've caught a male Cooper's hawk. This is a bird that's an accipiter, so it's a specialist in eating songbirds. And so it's one of our more common species we catch here at our Lucky Peak station. It's a bird that probably nested north of us. Oh, and I have video now. It probably nested north of us, and it's flying south today. So we've caught him. We've already measured him. So if you guys were here for the beginning, before we officially started our broadcast, you probably got to see us measuring this bird. And there's a hawk in the station, so I might have to be quiet here for a second. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to switch the camera. Oh. I'm going to switch the camera, you guys. I'm going to talk real quiet because there's a hawk that may be coming in and we might be able to trap it. So you guys might see a hawk fly by. It's perched. Let me see if I can point to it. It's perched on the top of this little tree right here. So a lot of this hawk trapping is relying on being really secretive and hoping that the hawk doesn't know we're here so that it'll come into our little nets that we have set up. And sometimes hawk trapping takes a little bit of patience. It's kind of like fishing.
What? You're leaving?
Oh, and you can see the red tail flying here.
Oh, coming closer. I like this. Oh, come on.
See that hawk flying?
Are you scared of, guy? Get the right breeze and come back in here.
Come on, buddy, turn around.
Oh, stooping on something else.
It's diving probably to eat a rabbit and not come to our station. Maybe it'll turn around. And it looks like I just lost the video, so I'll narrate a little bit more. This red-tailed hawk is flying past us, and we're hoping... Oh, there's a little American kestrel as well. So we're hoping that these birds will come in. We have some little lures, so we have little flapping birds that we hope will trick the hawk into coming in. So kind of like when you go fishing and you use a little fishing lure or a worm to attract the fish, we have little lures that are hopefully going to attract these hawks. And hopefully you guys can hear me. Oh, there we got video back. Okay, well, I might... Oh, red tail's coming back. So you guys can see Jay is pulling these strings here. So kind of like when you're moving a fishing rod and you're trying to move that fishing lure, Jay is pulling some strings, trying to move those lures and attract the hawks. I don't know.
I think it's kind of done.
I think the red tail gave up. So while we have video, let's show off this Cooper's hawk that Greg has already banded. Some of you guys got to see this hawk before the broadcast started. So we store them in cans when we're not banding them so that they stay nice and calm. But this is oh yeah, adult male Cooper's hawk. You can see that bright red eye. So we know he's an adult based on that eye color. We know he's a male because he's not very big. So in hawks, the girls are actually bigger than the boys. So believe it or not, this is a tiny Cooper's hawk. And he has a really nice tail that's molting right now. So you can see he's growing some new feathers. There's feathers of different lengths. All right, he has a broken tail feather too. So we're looking as scientists, and we're looking at all these characteristics of this bird and recording data about him so that we can learn more about his populations. So these tail feathers growing in, it's kind of like you guys, if you guys have lost any baby teeth. Oh, man, this hawk is telling you guys all about it. If you guys have lost any baby teeth and have grown-up teeth coming in, it's kind of like what this Cooper's hawk is doing with his tail. Oh, we just lost the video again.
When you get the video back, we should release
Yeah,
him.
we should release him, yeah. So we'll wait a second, and when we get the video back, we're going to release this guy. I didn't get the chance to show you guys, but he has a little metal band on his leg. So it's kind of like a name tag for this hawk. And it has a 9-digit number on it.
There's a coop coming in.
Oh, and we have another hawk maybe coming into the station.
Screaming is ill-timed.
We'll find it out. Okay. Be ready, Greg, if the video comes. Oh, video's back. But we probably shouldn't release this bird yet. So we have another bird. Another bird, maybe in the station.
It's a sharp-shinned and a kestrel.
Oh, lost video again. This is torture. So we have a couple birds in the station, which is why I'm talking quietly, but hopefully you guys can still hear me. We're
Probably come back.
trying
Come
to...
back.
Yeah, should we do that? Is that okay, Jay?
Michael,
or-
do you see anything left out there if they left?
I haven't seen anything.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right, we're going to go step outside the blind.
Yeah, it's just barely southeast
That's
of
cool.
us.
Okay, we're going to step outside the blind and hope this video comes back for you guys. And we're going to release this Cooper's hawk. So if you guys just joined us, we caught and banded this Cooper's hawk. We gave it a little metal tag on its leg. Oh, good, video's back, Greg. So Greg is going to release this Cooper's hawk so that it can continue its migration.
The band?
Oh yeah, so you can see the little band on his leg. Little metal band. And really beautiful red eyes. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Set, go. Awesome. So we got all the data we wanted to get from that guy. Oh, nice timing with the video too. We got all the data we wanted from that guy and sent him back on his way. So that's our goal with the research we're doing today, is to quickly catch birds, tag as many as we can, and then let them continue their migration. And we hope that later, somewhere else along their migration route or in their wintering area, they will run it back into either another person, like a bird watcher, or another scientist. So we often get recoveries of these bird bands where another scientist will catch our bird, they'll read that band number, and then they'll give us a call and say, hey, we caught your bird, and it was in, northern Mexico or California. So we can learn a lot about where these birds are traveling to and what they're doing in their life. Another important thing we're looking at is the age of these birds. So you guys saw that beautiful red eye on that male Cooper's hawk. So we know that he was an adult bird. And that gives us some good information about the population as a whole. So in some years we catch a lot of adults and hardly any babies. And that's maybe a bad sign. That might mean that they didn't have a very good nesting year. And in other years we catch a lot of adults and a lot of babies. And that tells us that they had a really good nesting year. And so that's some of the type of data we're collecting. You guys also saw we were recording his molt. So that guy was growing some of his tail feathers. And kind of like you guys, when you go to the dentist kind of counts your teeth, how many grown up and how many baby teeth you have. We're doing the same with the hawks, so that gives us some good data. We also measured that hawk's wing and how long his tail was, and then we weighed him. And that can give us a good idea of whether he has any fat. And for birds, being fat is actually a really good thing, especially during migration. So birds, they can't carry a lunchbox like you guys can and bring their snacks with them to school. So instead, what they have to do is they have to eat a ton and add some fat, and that gives them the energy to travel hundreds and hundreds of miles. So by looking at how heavy that guy is, we can figure out how well he's doing on migration. So is he doing well, and does he have a lot of energy? Is he doing not well, and he needs more energy before he can really migrate? So yeah, that's what we're working on. I think, so some of you joined a little bit late, but we are on what's called the Boise Ridge. So we're in Idaho. And we're just outside the town of Boise, and I'll switch. Oh, it sounds like Jay might have a hawk, so I'll have to talk really quiet. So we'll have to watch. You guys might see on my video. I'm standing behind the trapping area. You guys might see a hawk fly by as we're trying to catch him. So this is a good time. We have the video. So I'm looking north here, and you guys can see there's a lot of mountains and a lot of forest to the north of us. Then out here we have the town of Boise way down below us in the valley. And then south of us we have a huge desert and some very, very distant mountains. So the hawks here are coming from the north. They're coming from this ridge with lots of trees. And they're flying south of us, and they're hoping to catch some wind so that they can make it over the desert without wasting too much energy. Sometimes crossing the desert is kind of a big feat and takes a lot of work for these hawks. So we're on this ridge today because of the way the winds work. There's a lot of rising air currents, and so that lets hawks ride the wind and migrate a little bit more easily. And, oh, maybe we have another bird in the station. So you guys can see a lot of our research here with the hawks is kind of stop and go. So we catch a hawk, get a bunch of information really quick, measure it, weigh it, let it go, and then we might sit and wait for a little bit. So we're always hoping that another raptor will come in. And you kind of never know. Oh yeah, there we go. So we got our view back. So on this side, our nets that we use to catch the hawks are very, very thin. So you guys probably can't see the nets on your video, but what you can see is little posts. So between those little posts, we have nets stretched out. And we're hoping that the hawks will see our little flapping movement of our lures and fly in to try to get the lure, just like a fish going after bait, and hopefully get caught in the net. You guys will also see at the very, very top of this mountain, there's a radio tower, and there's little tiny people standing up there. So we have some hawk watchers that are counting every hawk that flies over. Part of that is because a lot of times a hawk comes into the station, but we don't actually catch it. And so by having the hawk watchers there, they can count all the birds we catch and all the birds that we miss. And that gives us a good idea of the level of hawk migration. And that definitely changes year to year. So it's something that we use at our station, and we also compare it to other hawk watch and other hawk banding stations around the country, in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So by working together and combining all the information from all these different places, we're able to get a really good idea of how hawks are doing here in the United States. That Cooper's hawk that we banded that you guys got to see is a species that seems to be doing pretty well, and they're actually a species that's kind of expanding the places that they live. So they used to be more of a forest bird, and they would hang out in kind of deciduous, leafy forests, but now they've actually started living in towns with people. So here in Boise, over the last about 10 years, Cooper's hawks have started actually nesting in people's backyards. So they're a really interesting species that has been changing a lot lately, so it's another good reason to study them. I'm going to back up a little bit while I have the video and show you guys our trapping blind so you guys can kind of see it. So this little box is where we sit all day long, and we're waiting to catch these hawks. So we're hiding in this box, and you can see there's a window on the back. There's also a big window on the front that you guys were looking out earlier. And so that window allows us to kind of peek out of the blind and see any hawks that might be coming in. And today is a pretty good day for hawk migration. We have just a light breeze, and that should give the hawks really good lift. So that should give them some rising air where they can soar and circle. You guys may have seen vultures soaring and circling like this. So the hawks are trying to find that rising air that they can circle on, so that they can migrate without having to flap their wings and work really hard the whole time. So today is a really good day for migration because of this light south wind. And we've already had a few hawks in the station, so we'll hope that we get some more. I could take questions while we're waiting for a hawk. I know I don't have the video right now. Or I could tell you guys.
That would be great. Sorry, were you going to say one more thing?
Oh, no, go for it.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Heidi. This has been awesome so far. I can't believe we started with a hawk.
Yeah, that was...
Such a fluke. I love it. Let's start with Miss Irwin's group, which is multiple classes in Parker, Colorado. You guys have a question? Come on up. Everybody has a question.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see, this question's Lexi in the back. Can you see?
Yep.
Did you hear a question?
Oh, no. I didn't, sorry.
A little bit louder. Lexi, stand up loud.
How many birds catch a day?
Oh, good question. How many birds do we catch a day? So it depends on the time of year. A couple days ago this week, we actually caught almost 40 hawks in a day. That's some of our best days that we have. But other days, we might only catch 5, 6, or 10 birds a day. And that really depends on the wind. So hopefully today is one of those days where we'll catch a lot. And just based on the activity that you guys have seen so far, it seems like it's going to be a good day. And I think there might even be a hawk circling around, so we might catch another one for you guys before questions are over.
Cool. All right, let's go to Miss Sinclair's grade 2 class in California now.
Why do you put them in cans?
Why do we put them in cans? That's a good question. Some people think that seems kind of mean when you first hear about it. For the horses and wear those little blinders around their eyes. It's actually a really good way to keep the hawks calm. So the can is really big, so there's lots of room for them to move around in that can. But it covers their eyes so they don't see us. You know, to a hawk that's never seen a person before, we might be a little bit scary. And so we try to keep them calm by covering their eyes. And it also keeps them from flapping their wings so they can't get away before we're ready to. So we tend to hold them for about 5-10 minutes, just long enough to get measurements, and then let them go. So they spend probably 1 or 2 minutes in the can. The other reason we use the can is so that we can weigh them. If we just asked them nicely to stand on the scale, they would fly straight away. And so by sticking them in that can, that's a good way to keep them still for those few seconds when we're trying to get their weight, get their mass.
Thanks to you,
I don't know.
For repeating the questions. It's always really helpful.
I'll try to remember that.
Yes, you're doing great. It's my grade 3 class in San Antonio. You guys have a question?
Money class? Yes, you have a question. Kristen. Oh, yes.
Yep, you're good.
Ask your question.
Why does the global warming affect the raptors?
Ooh.
Oh, so that's a good question. We've done some research. So our research station has been running for about 20 years, which is just long enough that we can start measuring those really long-term trends that you need to look at to learn about climate change. And what we've found is songbird migration is changing, and we think the hawk migration is changing to match the songbird migration. So what I mean by that is a lot of these hawks, like that Cooper's hawk you guys saw, they eat songbirds, which we're also studying here at this station. And some of you guys might join me tomorrow to see our songbird banding project. So a lot of these hawks are eating these songbirds, and so they want to follow their food supply as their food, those little songbirds, moves south. So what we've seen is the songbirds are shifting their timing based on the food they eat, which might be seeds or fruits or bugs. And then the hawks are shifting their timing based on the food they eat, which is the songbirds. So because they're all kind of connected in this food web, we see that changes with the little songbirds, well, changes in the bugs and the seeds, changes the songbirds, which changes the hawks. So kind of everything is impacted by climate change.
Great question, great answer. A quick question passed along from a group watching online. So Team DD in Paris, Ontario class wanted to ask, what's the largest bird you've ever caught?
Well, good question. Largest bird we've ever caught. Unfortunately, I have missed catching... Oh, I hear a commotion. They caught a hawk! Okay, so I'll answer this question and then we'll check out a hawk. Oh yeah, good, the video's gonna come back. So I'll run out and we'll watch Jay pull this hawk out of the trap. The biggest birds we catch are golden eagles. We only catch about one of them a year, and I've never been around for one. So if you guys want to all cross your fingers and hope that we catch a golden eagle today, that would be awesome. But the biggest bird that I've been around for is a bird called a Gyrfalcon, which is a large falcon that lives usually north in the Arctic Circle, but we were lucky enough to catch one here in Idaho. So you guys can see Jay pulling this hawk out of this trap. We have this big bow net, so it's a spring-loaded net that flips over the top of these hawks. It's really soft, and so it allows us to safely catch this hawk. And then we're able to go open that net and pull the hawk out. So you guys can see Jay is holding that hawk by its legs. Cooper's hawks, their sharpest part of their body is their feet, because they use those feet to kill songbirds. Their beak is a little bit sharp, but really not that much that we need to worry about it with our hands. And so you'll see Jay holding those feet to protect himself from the hawk, and also keep the hawk safe so that we don't want to hold it in a way that's going to injure that hawk at all. So it looks like we lost video, but we'll continue to follow Jay and maybe measure this hawk, and I can also take questions while we don't have any video going.
Take one from this player's class. You guys want to come up? 4's London, Ontario, guys. Go right ahead.
Come on in, you can.
How many hawks do you normally catch a day?
So we normally catch about 20 to 40 hawks a day. And, I figured I should narrate. Yeah, we got video. Okay. So Greg is measuring the size of the leg on this Cooper's hawk to decide what size band to put on this guy's leg.
I'm going to use a 4.
Cool. So we want to pick a band that fits just perfectly for each hawk. Kind of like if you guys wore a watch or a bracelet, you would want that to
41.
Be able to spin and move up and down.
Or a wedding ring.
Without being too tight. It looks like I lost video again, but these bands have a little 9-digit number, so kind of like a phone number. And Greg is attaching it to the leg of that bird with a pair of pliers, so you guys might get to see the pliers if the video comes back. And checking if it spins, and it does. Perfect. So we want to be careful as we're putting these bands on, because these birds are going to wear the bands for the rest of their life, and so making sure they fit really nicely is one of the most important things that we do. All right. Sorry I keep interrupting question time with birds, but kind of cool that we got to catch 2 different hawks today.
We're back with video, so before we take the next question, we'll check out what you're doing and go to Miss Reed's class. The hawk's very calm when you have it in your hands like that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so one of the things we do is we hold them, this is called like a cradle grip, so kind of a gentle grip that keeps their wings from flapping and allows Greg to move his feet and put the band on. One of the things he'll do is he's also going to measure its wing and its tail. Oh, it looks like, yeah, video is going in and out, but it keeps popping in, so that's kind of good. This is another Cooper's hawk, by the way, and it's another male, so interesting that we caught 2 of the same species, and even the same gender, and same age. Cool.
Same age as age, that's why. That's what it looked like to me, but
it has a kind of light-colored eye, a little bit different. Oh, we got a red tail. Well, yeah, red tail in the station. Oh, come on. Oh, this red tail keeps landing in our tree and not getting caught.
77 is the tail.
Oh, there we got the video back again. So you can see this one doesn't have as red of an eye as the other one. Kind of has an orange eye.
I would say, oh,
Why? Orange yellow.
So beautiful, kind of sunset colored eye on this Cooper's hawk. Too, so you guys can see those short little tail feathers and a short wing feather mixed in with a longer tail. Right. So waiting for any broken feathers, looking for any parasites. And we decided this Cooper's hawk is an after second year, so that means it's at least 2 years old. Oh, we lost video again. Alright, so the last thing we're going to do is... Okay, so while I'm waiting for video to come back, if you guys want to ask another question, that would be okay. Oh, hang on, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
That's okay. While we're waiting for Miss class then, there's someone in Miss Sinclair's class who's waiting for one. Right in.
What's the best flying weather for hawks?
Sorry, what was that? What's the best what with hawks?
What's the best flying weather with hawks?
Oh, the best flying weather?
Flying.
Oh, the best flying weather?
Yeah, flying weather.
So the best flying weather at our station is a very light southwest. It depends on the station. So other stations might have different weather that works better for them. Some of that depends on the shape of the hills near the station. So we have a north-south and south for us. If a station was on an east-west wind, they might have a different wind that worked better for them. We've also done some research that the East Coast versus West Coast has different winds that work better for different hawks.
All right, let's go to, again, Miss Urban's group. If you guys have a second question, there's so many of you. Anyone who wants to go? Yeah, Miss Urban's group, whoever wants to go, guys.
No, did you call on us? We can't hear.
Oh, yes, I called on you guys.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Okay.
Nate. Have you ever caught the same hawk in one day?
Oh, good question. So not very often at our own station, but we have a station that's just 1 or 2 miles north of us on the same ridge. And so every once in a while we get the same hawk in the same day. It doesn't happen very often though. One thing that's really cool is we actually, just this year, we had a Sharp-Shinned Hawk that we banded last fall, so September 2017. And then this summer, in June, we re-caught him again. So that gives us great information. If we caught him in June, that's during nesting season. So we actually learned that that was a Sharp-Shinned Hawk that nested here in Idaho. So that gives us some great information about when he was migrating the year before and when he decided to nest. So that's the most fun thing, is when we get recaptures in a totally different year or a totally different place.
Cool, good question.
We
Let's
have
go
to
back to
sign
Miss
off
Urban's
now.
group. If you guys want to do another question, you're welcome to. There's so many kids there, so please go right ahead.
We have to get lunch.
Okay, we'll have a lovely lunch, guys. All right, let's go to Miss Meineke's class then.
Maybe claw.
While you guys are asking questions, we're going to release this.
Really quick, and then we'll go to Miss Maya. Great, go for it.
I'm gonna count to 3.
Here we go. Woohoo!
Down. Where did you hit it? Where did you shoot it down?
There it goes. All right, second Cooper's Hawk is out the door.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah, we just oh, the one we just left. Yeah.
All right, so sorry, we let the Cooper's Hawk go, but I can take another question if you guys have questions.
Allegra?
I'm Allegra from San Antonio, and I want to know what can we do to protect these birds?
Great question. So one of the things I would say is help raise awareness. So a lot of people have no idea that there are hundreds or even thousands of hawks flying over their head every fall during migration. And so just even telling people, hey, these hawks exist and they're pretty cool, is a good start for protecting these birds during migration. The other really important thing is, oh, we got a hawk.
I bet this is the one I just got out of that.
Oh,
Oh,
this is
Sharpie.
a Sharp-Shinned Hawk.
What?
So the other really important thing is to protect habitat for birds. So a lot of these birds need pretty specialized habitat. So they might need forest, they might need kind of deciduous trees, they might need desert habitat, grassland. And so protecting all different kinds of habitat
Greg, in the mist net.
to help other birds.
Front
Oh, hey,
side.
we caught another hawk. So protecting all different kinds of habitat for different types of hawks is also really important. And not only protecting the habitat for the hawks, but also for their prey. So if a hawk eats rodents or songbirds, then it's important to protect that food for them as well. So kind of protecting the whole food chain at once.
Answer.
All
All right. We'll get 2 more questions and see if we can see this last hawk. I can't believe you've caught 3 hawks in 30 minutes. There you go.
You guys are pretty lucky. And we might be back to another one.
Oh, and Greg is moving, which probably doesn't help, but hopefully he'll get back inside it. Here, stop that door for him.
All right, here comes Greg with our other hawk. Yeah, you guys are bringing us good luck. It's meaning I don't have a lot of time to answer your questions, but... So this is a Sharp-Shinned Hawk, so different than the Cooper's Hawk that we've already caught. And this is a young bird, so you can see it has yellow eyes instead of red.
Brown.
Really brown back and little...
Streaky breast.
There we go. Nice. Streaky breast and full crop, maybe? Looks kind of bulgy. All right. Awesome. So we can watch Greg tag this hawk, measure its leg, decide what size band to put on. So you guys have seen so many hawks now, you guys kind of know the drill. How we do these birds. All right.
If there's room, let's get you inside the blind.
Yeah, you can scoot past me.
Maintains your camouflage. Greg, did you get a release on that? I know about what it was, but oh, come on.
12:30. You gotta get inside.
Okay, we're gonna hold still because Jay's maybe gonna catch another hawk. Let's see if it. I don't know if it's flying past, but.
This bird's got a full crop too, which behaves.
You can see Jay pulling strings to get the lures to flap. A lot of suspense. I'm not sure if we're gonna catch it or not.
I would say as soon as you can. Maybe go back in the back. It's kind of crowded.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah, this bird just looks like it wants to look and do some window shopping.
No hawk, so we'll watch Greg record the data on this other hawk while we're waiting to catch another one, maybe. And you can see there's a bunch of us. We all have to squeeze and hide inside the blind.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we squeeze 1 or 2 people back? Yeah. Yep.
We all have to squeeze and hide in the blind so that the hawks were trying to... Oh, trap, don't see us.
I didn't even see that. It was just
Sometimes it gets a little crowded.
full crop adult female. Yeah.
All right, so you guys can see now we have video during the band process, so you can see how Greg put that on. So I think I already said, but this is a young bird. We call it a hatch year. It means that this bird was hatched this spring.
Hatch year.
So it's
Female. Sharp-Shinned.
actually only
Caught
a
in the
couple
mist net.
months old.
The dove.
And already
was the
migrating
lure.
all by itself, so it's not with its parents. It has an, little instinct programmed in its brain to tell it that it needs to fly south.
203 is the
And
ring.
this is a female Sharp-Shinned Hawk, so for her species, she's pretty big. She's smaller than that Cooper's hawk, but pretty big. And you can see Greg gonna measure her tail. So we can watch the process, and I can tell you guys about it, or we can answer questions while we watch Greg band this bird. Whatever you guys want to do.
Is the tail?
We're gonna get into more questions if we can, and then we'll wrap up not long after because we got about 5 minutes left. So we'll go to Miss Player's class.
Okay, Monty.
You guys have a question? Yeah, go right ahead, guys.
179 is the weight. This bird has full crop right here.
Oh, yeah.
There's a songbird in
Probably.
its crop.
Yeah, this bird just ate a little songbird. It has a full belly.
Okay.
That's cool.
Eye is yellow.
Hi, what's the oldest and the youngest bird you ever caught?
Oh, the oldest bird? Oh, we might have to ask Greg and Jay what the oldest bird we've ever caught is. This is probably just about the youngest bird we catch as far as hawk trapping goes. So, a few months old, born this summer, and left its nest probably in June.
It's hard to know how old they are.
Yeah.
Some, you can tell by the plumage they're more than 2 or more than 3. But we've had birds that we've banded that have been recovered 15 years later. So
That's pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 15 years old as far as a bird that we've caught that somebody else has then re-caught later. Some raptors that other people have studied can live even more than 20, 30 years. So it kind of depends on the species, but 20 or 30 years is pretty good estimate.
Cool. Heidi, I've got one question to wrap us up, and that is, where can kids go to learn more? You guys have done such an amazing presentation for us today, and I know we're doing songbirds tomorrow for any classes that want to join in. Is there a website you guys have, anywhere we can direct the classes to go look?
Yeah, we have a website, ibo.boisestate.edu. And also recommend checking out our Facebook page and our Instagram. That's where you can see really cool photos of the things we catch and updates about how our migration is going. So that can be fun. I'd also recommend we have a long-billed curlew satellite tracking program that's pretty awesome, tracking curlews all the way from Canada and the United States down to Mexico. So you guys can actually log in online and see maps of our migrating curlews. So that's a pretty fun thing to do too.
Heidi, every annual we're going to use every class's microphone. Hopefully not going to scare away any class how loud people are, but so Miss Sinclair's class, Player's class, thank you, Heidi.
Thanks, guys. Look, other side.
Bye, kids.
Bye, guys.